history on the planet. We call them the boots on the ground, and the history, because Eisenhower served as Supreme Commander in Allied Expeditionary Force in the European theater. Now, that was started in December 1943. Now, that's a very important year because the creation of the command to execute Operation Overlord and ending July 1944, shortly after the end of World War II in Europe. So that's important. And in 1951, the year I was born, Eisenhower would again be a Supreme Allied Commander to the first to hold post of NATO. Believe it or not, it started. So that's important, Ken, so people know who, my kids don't know this stuff. I don't even know how much of it we knew because we didn't have a place to go on the internet to go find all this. And so I want to talk. Let me tell you what I put on here because we're going to talk, but I put on here, I'm going to read this for you, Ken. ACO, Allied Command Organizers, okay, Allied Command Organizers. ACO can also stand for Allied Command Organization, but Commander Johnston about the UFO Secret Space Command and how our past history with NASA, NASA, may affect our future in space. We share welcoming others into our various levels of information, education, entertainment, and let me wait just a minute because it just flipped on me, and I don't know why it did that, into our various levels of information, education, entertainment, and how it flipped again. We all are all affected by what is now called fake news. Our President of the United States talks a lot about fake news. And in general, it's all the stuff that we've been led to believe that we have shaped and modeled after main corporations that President Eisenhower, in one manner of speaking, warned us about the military-industrial complex, but also back in the day, television was becoming more important like internet is now. But we'll just say, who will define what is real and what is not in cyberspace? The internet is only one level of our communication, and we are asked to remember our past and how we will begin writing our future. We now share ACO Association and UFO Association for those who desire to awaken our consciousness and how it connects to those above and what some call UFOs and then USOS, which is underwater submersibles I saw in Hawaii, and unidentified anomalous phenomena as UAP. So that's what we have tonight, so we can just mix it all up. So where do you want to begin now? UFO Secret Space, UFOs, USOs, UAP, all of the above, fake news, the history, and then what we're comparing in the future, Ken. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Where do you want to go with this? Got an hour and 11 minutes.
There's just so much to go over and get involved in. I think, fortunately now, that thanks to television, radio to some respect, but to television and our ability to be in contact with our fellow human beings all over the world, it has allowed us to get to the point where people are no longer in a position of panic about the other aliens exist. And I like to put it this way: if the supreme being, God, created intelligent beings here on this planet, who's to say that he didn't do it elsewhere in this vast universe? And of the comment that was made in that one of the movies, where there'd be an awful lot of wasted space if we're the only intelligent, and that's questionable sometimes, beings in the universe. So our job, our position, and what I see us doing is getting into the truth, getting back into some of the history, and knowing where we stand now, because I should say, very soon now, when you're going to hear more in the really valid radio, television, which has been manipulated and controlled for so long, has no choice other than come out and we had this spacecraft land or in direct contact, and now the United Nations is having to have conferences or speaking with intelligent alien beings. Let's face it, if they're that intelligent that they can fly through space and come to our planet and be able to land and make communications, they're bound to be intelligent enough to know how to deal with as primitive a people as some of us really are. And I'm glad to see that now that we're coming forward and getting the information out there, that it's going to make it a lot easier. So, well, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight is how is that going to affect? And it's going to be, because I have a degree in theology and I've studied religions and I've actually been an ordained minister. It's so difficult for people that are so well indoctrinated in their own religious backing and belief. And I'll say, I can take all that knowledge and stuff I had, and I've gone back and I'm looking at, there's been evidence of extraterrestrial contact with this planet for thousands of years. And when you go back and look at a lot of the scriptures and things, you can take a look and realize that we're talking about non-human intelligent beings involved in what's going on this planet and with the people involved. So that's just one of the things that I look at is how kind of an effect it's going to have on people today. It won't be nearly as difficult, I don't think, as it would have been 50 years ago, or even further back it'd be worse. But then as recent as only 50 years ago, that most of the people, young kids have grown up with television and movies all about aliens. And, of course, that started off, Hollywood has been a big controlled system to indoctrinate our population, the people, in which started off with aliens crash landing and gobbling up and killing people and this and that, and on down the line. Finally, they're non-human looking beings that are being really nice and friendly, and like the little boy that says when he saw the spacecraft land on the white Washington porch, and this little fuzzy character comes out. The little boy says, "Look, Mommy, there's the Cookie Monster. He's my friend." And that's kind of where we were at. That was 50 years ago, and now we're at a point, I think, where we know that there's a lot that we can learn from any sentient beings that have traversed the universe and or have had an effect upon our development or our evolution, if you want to call it that, here on this planet. And then you're going to get into the things about, okay, what have we been doing to this planet? And you've got what the power-hungry, money-controlling, I can't think of the cabal, if you will, have kept us locked into petroleum that's been affecting our environment and whole parts of this planet, that now we can hopefully get the intelligence released. It's been out there for 60, 70 years that we could not do. We can't do away with petroleum, but what we have to do is just cut back on the way in what we're using it and move into the other types of power and systems for transportation around this planet and start taking care of Mother Earth. Because right now, unless you have a spacecraft bigger than what I've seen, we can't leave this planet the way it is. We need to take good care of Mother Earth. And so anybody that's listening to this program realize my whole purpose is to get it public enough to where we all have and have it at stake to save the Earth and make it the beautiful planet that it used to be, that it needs to be, and in the process does not affect the rest of our solar system, which affects the whole galaxy, which affects the whole universe. So that's kind of a big shot in the arm to take a look at it and realize, oh man, this guy's jumping way off the deep end. But no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And I'd like to hear other people's feelings about what the effect it would have on your family, so that say your kid's in college and you're going to have a visitor from the let's see, one of the good solar systems out there, kind of thing, that's going to come and give a talk and a presentation at their university. Are you ready to accept that and understand that it's all a part of education? I think the more education that we get and the more we share and the more that people can look at, the faster we are going to be able to move into the intelligent what do you want to call it? This secret space program, where we are in contact with other intelligent beings. Of course, we're probably going to run into some negative aliens, but by and large, the good, the right attitude, the right proper people, and beings are the ones that are going to be the supreme organization. And I guess that's probably where that term came from, the supreme. What are you calling it there, TJ? The supreme commander.
Allied Command. We have Allied Command, and we have Supreme Allied Command, and we have those words on the planet and the military and our offices on the ground that a lot of people are not even aware of, including a lot of our military. They may or may not get it in officer training school or in our boot camps. And you know what? It's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and we'll go ahead and say Coast Guard and National Guard. And you work with the high schools. Go ahead and mention what other Sea Cadets. I worked with the Sea Cadets. Ran some while I was in Great Lakes. You work with some children, so go ahead and mention those, the children.
Oh, no, we won't. Young cadets, how's that? They don't like to be called children. Actually, the Civil Air Patrol goes all the way back to the beginning of World War II, in which the German submarines were all up and down our coastlines, and we weren't fully involved in World War II at the time, 1941. And what they were doing is when ships would come up, they would torpedo them and sink the ships. Well, when the Civil Air Patrol came along, it was a lot of adults that either had prior pilots or either owned their own airplane, and they got with the president and with Congress and saying, look, we have these small airplanes and we can fly up and down the coastlines, whereas the big fast airplanes that you've got, they're going to miss things, and we're down low, flying low and slow. And actually, we get credits for sinking two subs. And one of the things they did on a little Piper Cub, would you believe, they put a tube between the two seats in the airplane, and they had like not bombs, but they were little cylinder bombs. They could fly right over the top of it, drop it, and it would cause the submarines to have to get out of the area, and so they were no longer as safe. And finally, the admiral in charge of the Nazi forces ordered all the submarines away from the American coast because it was too costly. They were losing too many submarines and things. And so back to the kids. What I was getting at is where you had the Civil Air Patrol, you had people that medically couldn't be part of the active military. These were the adults. And the younger kids wanted to be involved and do something that they could do, and they had help. So they formed the Civil Air Patrol Cadet Program, and it was kids from the ages of 12 years old and up. And it was a pseudo-military organization during World War II and the Korean War, and then up until, about, 30 years ago, 1941, Congress made the Civil Air Patrol an actual organization connected to the Army Air Corps at the time, and as soon as Pearl Harbor happened, we became the primary communication systems between military bases and things where we could fly supplies in and out, and we volunteered to fly up and down our coastlines, coast to coast, and East Coast, West Coast, and the Gulf Coast. So we were carrying on a very, very important job. You don't hear about it very much because, as a rule, the Civil Air Patrol does not brag or talk about, although we have the same benefits that people that go all the way up through ROTC do. We have kids that come in at the age of 12 years old, and by the time they're 16, they may be a cadet captain or cadet major, what have you. If they get up to the cadet major, and by the time they are 18, they can go into the military and skip the first three ranks and take the same advantages that advanced ROTC students can get when they go into the military, because they're well trained. This is one of the things that we teach